Yay, FS1. Okay, I'm just going to throw my crazy theory at you, is that Paul George stayed in Oklahoma City, and a lot of it comes off an injury and thought, I'm not giving money back. Kevin Durant, I talked to Rick Bucher the other day, and Durant's having second thoughts because he's hurt, and he's thinking, that guaranteed money. I'm Kawhi Leonard. There's a story out this morning. He's got some tendonitis he's dealing with. He gave up $31 million to leave San Antonio. He gave up $49 million guaranteed to leave here. Chris, come on now. That's $80 million large.
Well, the money, no question. At a certain point, and I'm one that if I'm happy in a place, I'll take a little less than I could just get anywhere else. But $80 million, I mean, that's a lot of money.
For a guy that's had injuries.
Right. So there's that. There's what you mentioned is the team. I mean, they set what I think could be a bad precedent by letting him sit out 22 games for rest. But wherever you go from here, are they going to be as open to doing that? Toronto next year, if Kawhi wants to sit out 22 games for rest, they're going to let him do it. So there's that. There's also, and let me first say this, gun to my head, I still would say Clippers.
Yes.
Just because of L.A., okay? However, you cannot underestimate the impact of a bonding experience. People get married from a great month together.
Yeah.
A great weekend together.
Yeah.
Josh Goldman just told me a great night together. You never know. Watch out for Goldie. But anyway, he's one of our behind-the-scenes guys. This is a great bonding experience that they're having. I mean, the crowd, I've been in that arena during the playoffs. It is incredible. You see Jurassic Park. Everybody in the city is giving free stuff, houses, food, getting to the finals. I even want to say it looks like he's a little bit coming out of his shell.
Yeah.
He's talking to the media more. He has to carry the load of being the man on the team with the media. You never know how this could affect the guy at 27 years old because he's having such a great experience this year in Toronto.
No, I think it's a real thing. And let me say this. I think Golden State's going to win this series. But I will say this, is that because of the length, even their guards, Danny Green is long, Gasol, Siakam, Ibaka.
And if OG Anunoby comes back, that's another long guy.
Length forces you to take more difficult shots, change trajectory. I did think Golden State was rusty. I do think they'll play better in Game 2. But Toronto's not shrinking. Listen, they made Philadelphia inept late in game situations. They made who else? Philadelphia a couple of times. Looked at Milwaukee was inept offensively. This is a defense that creates problems. Golden State, they're not shrinking. Like, I can see Toronto giving them 6-7 games of trouble.
Yeah, I'm with you in that. I think they still win. I picked them in 6 and still feel fine about that pick. But Milwaukee, we all talked about how if they had gotten to the finals, their length would have bothered Golden State. And it's the same thing here, but the difference is these guys in Toronto are better individual defenders. I was surprised, and I'm with you. I think it was rust last night. I think it was a little bit of complacency.
Yeah.
Where I think against Portland, Golden State coasted a bit, paced itself. We don't have KD. Our depth isn't what we'd like it to be. So we know with 1 or 2 second-half surges, we can put Portland away. I think they kind of felt that last night. And Toronto, to its credit, wouldn't let them surge in the third quarter, which they usually do. So I think there was a lot of that. However, I was impressed by Toronto's defense because they have not faced a motion-type offense like this in the playoffs. And it's been one-man shows throughout the Eastern Conference, so give them credit. Every one of those guys, Siakam, Lowry, obviously Kawhi, Marc Gasol, these are all league defenders at one point or another, and Siakam will be. So, yeah, I thought they played well, and I think it's going to be a good series.
All right, we're going to stick around with Chris Broussard. We got all sorts of stuff to talk about. Houston feels like they're panicking and unraveling. We also have Kevin Durant's decision. I'm hearing all sorts of stuff that's fascinating with KD. So we know that Paul George stayed in Oklahoma City, and many people suspect, and I think this is true, he had a major injury, and Paul did not want to leave all that money on the table. So Kevin Durant now has got an injury. There's a report by Chris Haynes he could come back in this series and will about Game 4, let's start with this. It is the perfect scenario for him, right? To come back and save the team?
Colin, I talked about the worst case scenario if they win it without him. The best case scenario is they're down 0-2, 2-1. KD comes back, saves the day, wins the finals for him, probably would be finals MVP if that happens. You erase that entire narrative that they didn't need you. And now people saying, well, if they were going to lose to Kawhi in the finals, they probably were going to lose to LeBron, especially LeBron and Kyrie. So now all of that's gone. The rings aren't viewed as cheap, aren't viewed as easy by those who have that viewpoint. And so I would say this to Kevin Durant in that scenario. Stay at least one more year.
If you come back, save the team and win.
Stay at least one more year because now, again, you've erased that scenario. You don't have to deal with that anymore. Why not go for 4 straight? Nobody's done it since Bill Russell, not Kobe, Shaq, Michael, Duncan, nobody. This would be your way. I've said for KD to kind of get into that top 10, get into that top 5 maybe, he has to do it with his own team. Or just get out of the scenario where people think your team doesn't need you. If you can separate yourself from them by winning 4 straight, that's a way to get in there without leaving. And then if you want, you can always leave the next year, right? Like you'll be 31 years old, 32 years old. You'll still have plenty left. And you get to look at the free agent landscape. Where does Kyrie go? How do the Clippers look this year? Is LeBron really fading? I could go there and save LeBron.
Years ago,
all types of stuff.
Years ago, I was told by a manager the most powerful word in broadcasting is no. Do you want to be on this broadcast? No. And managers leave and go, wait a minute. Why? Like, it gives you power. I think if you ask LeBron personally, and I said this at the time, last year, I said, take the year off and just watch the landscape. Kevin Durant, by the way, one more year in Golden State, win or lose. All the big stars are kind of fastened to a team. The free agent class isn't nearly as tasty a year from now. I don't think it's bad advice. Now, I do want to talk about this, is that we thought coming into this season, and even before the series, Houston was the second best team in this league.
Right.
I'm watching the last week. Daryl Morey's like, I'll trade everybody. Mike D'Antoni's staff's fired. Chris Paul's contract looks worse by the day. Are they panicking?
No question about it, Colin. Like this is such a bad look. Number one, you never want to put your coach in a situation where you basically pick his coaching staff. I mean, you're essentially saying, go ahead and get out of here. So I would understand it if D'Antoni, out of pride, just said, I'm out. I hope he doesn't, but I'd understand it. So that's number one. That's a bad look. Number two, why are you letting it leak that your entire roster is available? Okay? Why is James Harden's name out there? I know it's unlikely they trade him, but he should be like everybody but Harden. And Chris Paul, knowing that the likelihood of being able to trade him is nil or very slim, CP3 is not going to like this. He's a superstar. He's not used to seeing his name in trade rumors unless he asks for a trade.
He's on 9 commercials.
Right. Like, it's easy for LeBron and Magic Johnson to say to Ingram and hey, it's part of the business. It means people want you. Your name's in the trade rumors. It's great. Let LeBron's name get in trade rumors for real and see how much he likes it.
Do you know Rich Paul once texted me? Rich Paul, because I said, maybe you have to consider trading LeBron. And I say this lovingly to Rich Paul. Rich is like, did I just hear you say good trade LeBron? I said, sorry, Rich. I didn't mean. I was kidding, Rich. I mean,
you're absolutely right. A superstar. So this is not going to sit well with Chris Paul. I guarantee you, he is stewing over the fact that his name. He came to you. He left the Clippers, and his name is now in trade rumors. You don't want me? I'm an albatross.
Houston's getting too public. Like, there's a lot of, they're becoming the Steelers. It's like, stop leaking crap to the media.
Now, what I will give, the one thing I like that Daryl Morey is doing is Colin, I'm not one of those guys that feels like you can't have a coach go into the last year of his deal. Yeah. Like he's a lame duck. No. A lot of people work in the last year of their deal. I'm in my last year of my deal. Let's get that done, by the way. But I'm in the last year of my deal. Like, come on. If you can't coach your team because you're in the last year of your deal, you shouldn't be coaching them anyway. I'm not with giving them a 1 or 2 year extension when you know in your mind this might be their last year. So I'm with Morey on that. What I think Houston should do, stop putting everybody on the market. Don't have these leaks. Let D'Antoni pick his staff and see if he can come up with some tweaks and changes to the offense. Get more movement player-wise, ball-wise, and see if he can do that. And if you can't do it in a year, we'll start all over after that.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.